Hey Joe, how are you?
Liam, what's up, man?
Hey, this has been a long time coming.
Yes, I was looking at the date and I was like, man alive, I forgot that it was that long ago.
Yeah, no, because I went and I looked at the original meeting link and I was like, there's no way this is still in operation. Like, there's no way this link is still working. It didn't work. Just want to let you know.
Oh, okay.
Your meeting link, your Zoom link from a month ago didn't work. I just want to let you know.
Okay. Well, this one here I didn't regenerate. So I was kind of
Oh
playing that
shit.
Seinfeld thing where Kramer drove the car until the gas ran out. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see how long and how old these links could work. And yeah, I didn't recalibrate it. So I don't know what happened. We're
Oh,
we're
you're good.
we're on a taped up, foiled up line here that's solid right now. So it's nice to meet
Uh,
you, man.
yeah, great meeting you.
Where are you located?
So my organization is located in Pittsburgh. I don't know if you've ever been down there.
I haven't.
Okay. It were yeah. That's what it. It's Pittsburgh. I mean, as far as like a tourist destination, there's a lot of cool stuff to do, but
Yeah.
people have either heard of it, or they just haven't, or even a smaller percentage have gone. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Big for
definitely
sports.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a place I want to get to for sure. So,
Yeah.
so let's get into before we get into your life and your work and mission, we went through quite a thing with COVID for the last 3 years. How did you survive it and how did it change you?
COVID's what got me into esports.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was experiencing kind of the whole pandemic, and my family, they always try to stay up on the news, so I was constantly in that state of hearing what was going wrong for different industries, and what industries were, some were capitalizing off of it, and some were stagnant, some were just falling off. A lot of like live event stuff, a lot of in-person stuff was just torn down. But one thing that was in my sphere was esports, because at the time I had a tech internship and I've been a gamer since I was 8 years old. And I'd always kind of seen from afar and I understood the appeal. I was never one of those people to shut it down. I saw that consistently it was bringing people together. It was offering the varsity sports experience. It was allowing people to generate new friend groups and maintain friendships. It allowed people to hang out in a virtual setting and engage in competitive entertainment, with by being COVID compliant. So I found that I really had a passion for it when I just started going into the different departments at my university. I went to University of Pittsburgh, and I saw that the company I was working for at the time, CDWG, they were doing a big push with their Lenovo Legion line, because they wanted to integrate and pivot into more of the esports conversation. And I saw that a lot of live events could still be held in a virtual setting, but the competition was still going. A lot of players were able to compete from their home setups, and they actually preferred that because they could go off their home Wi-Fi. They had no latency of competition, and after seeing just its growth and seeing that my university, from the faculty and staff side, didn't want to do anything about it, I was just kind of lost as to where I should put my talents. So I thought, instead of staying in the educational side, I should just take this to the professional side. I found out that the Knights were based in Pittsburgh, and from there it was uh, from there it was creating like the kind of value proposition as to why I should work for them, and being aggressive from there and following my passion. And then I knew where I wanted to take it, but I had to create actionable small goals and steps to get there. And of course we can get into like exactly how, because as far as like how I applied, it's very unorthodox. And I went into this whole space wanting to be in behind the scenes, and a lot of people go in wanting to be a competitive player, or a content creator or a streamer or something like that, or a game designer. So that's kind of how COVID transformed me, and I feel that that period across the world, a lot of people either engage in their own expansion of their skill set, or the growth of the self, or they just coasted, or and they just allowed life to
Yeah.
beat them down, really. And That's kind of how that was kind of my journey throughout, and that was in my senior year.
Yeah.
I switched my career path four different times in university. I didn't really find my passion until the end. I didn't. I started this role before I graduated, and I graduated. I walked at my graduation ceremony on a Thursday, and I started this role on a Monday of
Wow.
that same week. So as far as like, sure, I'm very lucky. I found my passion for where I want to be in my career path early on in life, but I've gone I'd gone 23 years with the constantly not knowing where I belong.
Yeah.
And there's some people that takes them longer, but as far as like the path of university, like it was all crazy. So that's my verbose way of answering your initial question.
Yeah. No, that's great. And you
Yeah.
laid a whole lot out there on the timeline.
Cool.
So my question to you is, let's say you're in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day, which they're gonna love you because esports and everything.
Yeah.
And one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you explain what you do on a daily basis?
I'll tell them that every day I focus on how I can bring people together. And I go to, and this is explaining on the third grade level. I go to different companies and I try to see how they want to represent their cool stuff that they have to more people through video games. And then I'd probably just leave it at that.
Yeah.
If I was excited, I'm like here's a side note. I've been working with kids since I was 11. I've babysat, I've nannied, I've worked at summer camps, I've done the whole thing. So that and when we have live events and we have like younger people come and ask questions who are in that same third grade or fourth grade, I just it switches on. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So are you originally from Pittsburgh?
No, I'm originally from the Bucks County area, so the other side of the state, north of Philadelphia.
Okay. So
Um,
talk
yeah.
and so talk to me a little bit about the seeds that were put into you that became who you are and how it led to where you're at today.
I mean, from a young age, like I started gaming when I was very young with my parents, and from a young age, two things I feel like were really instilled upon me from in balance. The first idea is balance, and two, hard work with actionable steps included. So it's not just the work hard mentality. It's includes the work smarter, not harder, and part of that is just like creating actionable steps towards the end goal. I think I really learned a lot of that from my parents. And as far as the balance side goes, they had no problem with me playing video games. They had no problem with me going over to a friend's house or bringing friends over and playing video games all night, as long as I was keeping up with all my other responsibilities. They still taught me how to cook, from it, which is crazy. Honestly, which side note, that's kind of crazy nowadays because so many people don't know how to cook anymore. But
Yeah.
whatever. But they still had me doing chores in the kitchen, engaging in sports, um, studying, and because of that balance, I feel like that's really helped me to navigate kind of the modern conversation of one-dimensional interest. So most people will see a person will have just one interest and make judgment calls off of that entire person based off of like one interest. And it's allowed me to kind of understand it and avoid it and pursue kind of myself, right? So I truly believe that in my like formative years when I was really growing up, I think those two principles were really instilled upon me that allowed me to uh, push and understand that even if there is things that I messed up or things came that slowed down my journey, it was character building or it was another step. And yeah, I think those are probably the two biggest that reach out to me, the two biggest lessons.
Sure.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about heroes, role models.
Mm.
Who's really propelled you in your life?
I mean, everybody says this, but my dad probably, just because like my parents, just because they were able to teach me so much yet still be so young. They had me when they were really young. So there was a lot of relatability with them because I knew that they were just beginning their journey as well. And I believe those are two of my parents, and then on the professional side, it's got to be Travis Kalanick and Jeff Bezos. You know, Travis Kalanick was the guy who founded Uber, and I believe that he had this sheer force of will and tenacity, but was able to apply it in the tech world. And you know, we usually will see whenever people look at leadership, they'll always go back to truly old ancient examples, such as like Alexander the Great, you know, Leonidas, these ancient figures. But what about or you know, like later on, like Machiavelli and all of these larger than life historical figures. But what about now in the modern day when we're constantly receiving an influx of the next big icon or the next big this or that, and someone who's truly able to lose it all and build it back up again. I think that's one of the true tests, you know, because if it was all taken away, because we know that in life or just in this journey, like anything could be taken away from you, but can you build it all back again? And I believe like you know Travis Kalanick and the you know Jeff Bezos, I think they both embody a lot of those principles of leadership and a unique perspective on life that allowed them to reach such high levels of success. You know, Travis Kalanick got voted out of his own, he got kicked out of his own company, and he's still now he's consulting to the Saudi Wealth Fund and doing. He has an entire cloud startup that's been valued at over like $1 billion.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it's those, and then you know Jeff Bezos, he changed the way money is made in virtually every industry and allowed small businesses and larger corporations to have an even playing field and still provide their thing to millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
And as far as far as like people that I truly felt influenced me, it's got to be like those four, like my parents, and then you know Jeff Bezos and Travis. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be?
I mean it's gotta be like it's got to be either like Travis Kalanick or Jeff Bezos,
Yeah.
because like I mean I FaceTime my parents like multiple times a day, you know, and I go home and I visit like all the time. So I could definitely I can already hang out with some of my idols right
Yeah.
now, you know. So like so it's got to be those two.
Right on.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What has been one of the best success stories that you've been involved with as a professional so far?
I think that my I think I think being a part of my organization's role in really driving the conversation of esports. So I'll give you an example. So we're one of the my organization is one of the only esports teams to consistently run competitive events and tournaments for prizing on the behalf of like the gaming developers that actually have created the games. So what makes us different is the fact that other esports organizations such as like 100 Thieves or FaZe Clan, all of their traffic is based off of the people that they have on the team. So all they're as far as what they're doing, they're competing and they're making content. Now, what I like about our organization is that we do that, but also we go to gaming developers and we actually we create the platform for people to compete. And I've become part of the this organization's mentality of why just have a team when you can run the league. And it's just I mean that phrase alone has been used in so many different ways, like why have the slice when you can have the whole pie, that kind of thing. Now I think a big part of the big probably one of the biggest things that I've had the pleasure of like being a part of is the Challengers League, which I've talked about a little bit in the past, but the tournament and events organization wing of my team called Knights Arena, we hosted the entirety of, for all of North America, the Valorant Challengers League for Riot Games. Now, what that means is there is the second tier, which every continent will compete in to get to the Premier Leagues. So it's as if for all of North America, one soccer team was representing us at the World Cup stage, and we ran all of that. So I think that one of the biggest successes is like being a part of that, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's got to be it.
Cool. So before we left that third grade realm, what did you want to be when you were in the third grade? What was your dream?
I think it was like when I was in third grade, it was definitely being an ice cream truck driver.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was
absolutely.
that, because I had I don't know. It was like I didn't really think of any of it, and I would tell my parents, I'm like, yeah, I'll just like eat ice cream and then I'll sell it too. And they're
Yeah,
like, well, what if you eat all of it? And I was just like, that won't happen. I was
yeah,
it was a kid. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Third
yeah,
grade.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the mentality. So if those third graders look at you and say, "Hey, how did you get to where you're at?" and you would give them practical advice on how to get there, what
Yeah.
would you tell them?
I would say, and if they're in third grade, correct? Okay. I would say take inventory of your skills and what you can do, and then go out and consistently utilize free resources at your disposal in order to grow your skill set. Because once they start looking for those, then they'll be led down the path of like all these like really in-depth like free certification courses that they can take and learn. And then from there, I would say don't be afraid to go up and talk to people about anything. Don't be afraid to ask, because one thing that you can also say is that everywhere not everywhere is going to say that they're hiring, but most places are hiring. So I didn't even look to see if my esports team was hiring. I just went with I found out, I did a little bit of stalking. I found out where the offices were. I went to the offices, went past security, and I had an envelope with my resume, my cover letter, a white paper, and a letter to the founder and the CEO. I found out from so our offices are in the same building as the Steelers, the NFL team, and I found out that they were still getting their mail. I talked to some of the Steelers staff and I was like, "Hey, can you put this in the mailbox?" And they said, "Yeah." And just that application alone is very unorthodox for anybody who's trying to apply to any
Yeah,
traditional avenue of employment. So I was able to navigate the whole finding my passion um, in a very unorthodox way. So to that third grade class, I'd say don't be afraid to ask questions and talk with people, because the worst thing that they can say is no. And I would say grow your skills as much as you can from there. And then like further down the path, it's just like if you have a passion for something, chase it and find articulate an end goal, write it on a piece of paper, and then just kind of like a web or a Venn diagram, or any kind of like any kind there's the top goal right there, and you take small actionable steps is how you're going to achieve that goal. And that works with anybody. You hear anybody in like in finance or in real estate, you hear anybody talk about how they were able to achieve what they achieved, and they always say planning and chasing like those small wins and those small goals. And if a strategy like that works everywhere, then it works for everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
Liam, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh man. um that's a really good that's a really good question. um I feel that I'm somebody who excels at pinpointing in my industry how I can bring more people together, because my main passion in life is bringing people together. And if I was to if that's I if I was to explain my perception of myself, it's just somebody who enjoys bringing people together with common interests. And that is probably the most generalized thing you're going to hear today. But that's really what my where my passion lies, and I found that gaming was one of the best ways to do so.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Liam, if anyone wants to learn more about you, anything pertaining to your world, where can they go?
Yeah, you can either go on our go on LinkedIn and find me. It's just Liam Brown Knights, and I'm like the only person that shows up. And then knights.gg is our main website, and you can find all of our socials there. Um, yeah, I feel like those probably two are like bigger. I mean, hey, if you look at some of our social media, like on Instagram, I'm in some of the videos, so just go look around there.
Right on, man. Liam,
Yeah,
this has been great. Thank you so much for opening up. Thanks for your story. Best of luck with everything.
awesome, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Awesome. Yep.